everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Women Who Inspire. Today is a very special day. It is International Women's Day. And on this day for this series, I have a very special guest. But before I tell you about her, let me just explain what we are trying to do with this series. The purpose of this series is to help women understand that the so-called negative emotions that we have are really pushing you to a better place, a better understanding of yourself, and even your higher purpose. My name is Sreshtha Tewari. I am the director of the Self-Worth Leadership and Empowerment Consultancy. I am also a motivational speaker and a wholeness guide. And my ultimate want is really just mental freedom for all women. So today I'm lucky to have with me Virmala Shala Balkaran. Most of you know her as Shala from Star 94.7. She is a radio personality, of course. Welcome to the series, Shala. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, my darling. Thank you so much for having me be a part of this. I am so incredibly honored to be here, and you're doing such an amazing job. So I just want to add to that in any way that I can.
Yes, thank you so much. I only met Shala last year when I was doing the Domestic Abuse Awareness series. And since then, she has been so kind to me, always full of grace, poise, and charm. It is such a pleasure to have her. And I am going to ask her now. She is going to share her emotional healing journey, telling us about her experience, what she felt, how long it took her to process what was happening, how did she start moving on, and what became of it. So, Shala, I invite you to share with us your emotional healing journey.
So a couple of years ago, I was in the process of completing my first degree, which was my Bachelor of Law. And at that point, it was everything that I wanted to do. It was everything that I dreamt of. It was what my family wanted. It was what I dreamt of being as a little girl. I wanted that for so many years that there was nothing else that I knew. So I knew this was going to be my path in life. And this was the end of every journey for me. This is where I was going to be. And throughout that journey, I found myself gradually just slipping into depression, into sadness, into a place that I could not recognize myself anymore. And I realized that I was falling out of love with what I was doing. And at that time, I was very confused because here I am with all these dreams and hopes and aspirations, these good grades that I worked so hard for, because throughout school, I was amazingly focused on what I needed to do. I had the best upbringing, the best education, and I knew this was my path. So how could I be falling out of love with this? How could I be spiraling downwards? What was happening to me? And I went through this really dark period of being not just confused and sad, but being broken, very, very lost. I just didn't know what I was going to do. And getting to the end of that, and it didn't seem like it was the end of that at that time. It just felt like a bottomless hole. I confided in my parents, and it was something that I just didn't know how to get out of. And I said, look, I'm going to finish this. I have to finish this, but it's not where I want to be. But getting closer to the end of that journey with my parents by my side, I still did not know how I was going to do it. Eventually, I got to the end of it, and that was it for me. I was done. I didn't know where to go from there. I didn't want to get a job. I didn't want to do anything with that certificate or that achievement. And it was at that point that I realized that I was pretty much dead. There was nothing that I wanted to do, and I needed to find my way forward. So eventually, I took some time off. I was actually a part of a very special project, and it was very political at that time. So obviously, there was so much attention on me in the media, and it was not necessarily the best thing for me, but there was a lot that I had to do to grow up at that time. So we're talking about this darkness together with all of this attention in my very early 20s. And I am unsure as to where I want to go from there. So now I am just stopping everything that I have to do and taking this time to be lost. And in that period of darkness, I found my greatest strengths. Fortunately for me, I decided that I wanted to do different things. I found that maybe I was really good at speaking. I was really good at public speaking, at media. And I said, wow, this is something. Now bear in mind, I don't know where I'm going. I just know that I do not want to be a lawyer. I do not want to do anything in the legal profession. I am in my early 20s and my parents have to take care of me, but they were so supportive. And I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was really young. And that exacerbated my pain by 100 times because there was the added hormones, the mood swings, the depression, all of that came with it. I was battling my weight, physical. I wanted to look a certain way. It was just a lot for me at that point, finding myself in more than one way. So I took a year off and I started to do these small things, little courses. But during that period, I signed up randomly for a radio broadcasting course. And I said, okay, this is in a very shady place. Why am I going to this strange place in the corner of a TT Post building in Chaguanas? And I'm this little girl going there. And everybody's, oh, I want to be a radio presenter. I want to do this. And I go, oh, hi, I'm here because I have nothing to do on a Saturday. And I did that. I sat in that class for about 8 to 10 Saturdays. And I said, Dad, would you pay for it? And he said, if that's what you want. I signed up for a flight attendant course at CTAL. And I'm ready to do this thing. And while simultaneously with the radio broadcasting, but that was so much fun for me. I used to go to class every single Saturday and I would pass my exams and I would love my tutor at that time, which was Mr. Precy Parker Williams, who was amazing. So then they sent me this email to say, oh, so the flight attendant course is no longer happening. I'm sorry, here's a refund for you. Try next year. I'm like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I'm at home. I need to get up and go. So I did this radio broadcasting course. And when I graduated, I got this strange call to be a TV presenter on a couch somewhere. It's a very old station. And that was not the most pleasant experience, but it was very short. But I say all of that to say this. So what happened? I went to different things in different places, and those paths led me to my ultimate path, or at least the path that I'm on today. So the funny story goes in a nutshell, go to the launch of this thing where I'm supposed to be this TV presenter, doing a show for women's empowerment. So I go to this, they have this reception for me. So then I meet some people. So it's like a networking event now. But these people end up staying in my life even after this show is dissolved, which is 3 weeks later, and I get 5% of a paycheck. And I go, oh my gosh, here I am again. I don't know where I'm going. So it's December of 2013, and I am completely lost, and I am sad and heartbroken. I get up in January and I said, you know what? I'm going to have to get up and go. So I start applying out for jobs. I said, I'm not going to sit down and try to figure out my life. I'm going to try to make some money. So through the people that I had met that night, I remember to say, I know this person. Let me ask how I can apply here and apply there. Before you knew it, abundance, everything came together. In January, I started working 2 jobs, not just one. I became a research officer for the Parliament of Trans-Tobago, and I started working in the Ministry of Housing. I went into the corporate life and I said, this is not where I want to be. It doesn't feel right. Then there's an opening at CNMG at that time, now TTT. I said, you know what? I have no experience in radio, but I have a radio broadcasting course, let me see what I can do with that. And I applied. I got a call, come in. And everything starts to flow. And then I am 20-something years old, now with 2 jobs and the possibility of another job. And I am just so confused, still confused, but blessed. I start doing it all. I start working 3 jobs, 3 paychecks in my early 20s. But this still does not feel satisfying. This does not feel like where I need to be. So fast forward 2 to 3 years after that, my corporate job starts to wither away, and I move away from that and I go fully into radio. So by that time, more and more roles have opened up for me at CNMG, and I start going into those things. Before you know it, I'm doing television. And at some points I sit down and I say, how did I get here? Wasn't I crying in the backseat of my parents' car saying, I am a failure, and I'm not doing anything with my life, and I don't know where I want to be. And here I am living a dream. But that was only the beginning of it. I knew that I wanted to do more than that. I knew this was not my end. At that time, I didn't even feel the sort of satisfaction that I feel now. I said, this is my journey to take this radio job, this television job, and do something greater. And I know time will not permit us to talk about every single thing that I encountered throughout those years, but truly, my faith really grounded me. There were so many times, Sreshtha, that I lost everything that I believed in. I had no faith. I just did not know where I wanted to go. And today I tell young women, the only reason I was able to get out of that mood, and not just mood, but that was an entire year of darkness. It was because I found myself in a place where I didn't think that I could find myself. And a very important part of healing for me was having the faith that I needed to have, even when I couldn't have it. And I had to tell myself every single day, there's a greater purpose, there's something going to happen for you, and you're gonna find it. And those were some of the hardest years of my life, still figuring out where I want to go. And I'm so happy to say that I am still taking steps in other directions, because this is ultimately where I'm not going to be for the rest of my life. But because of that period in my life where I was so broken and I was lost, I learned a very important lesson in faith. And in healing myself, I found the strength to say, at 30 years old, actually at 29 last year, I started a new degree. I started another degree. And now I am heading towards mass communications, something that I have been aiming to do for a long time. But if you had asked me about 10 years ago, this is where I wanted to be, absolutely not. This is not where I was going to be. Of course, now I'm going to be a lawyer. But I had to be broken down to nothing to find where I want to be.
Yeah, so I want to tell you congratulations on your new degree that you are studying for. And I am really grateful for you sharing your story, because it shows how much what we are groomed to be in our childhood, how you could be going along that path and somewhere in the back of your mind, you're thinking, no, this is not what I want to do. And I really want to honor you for going through that time in your life during your law degree where you went through the anger, depression, and all of that. Sorry, not anger. When you went through
I was angry.
I
was so angry. I was angry at myself, and I was angry at the people around me for telling me that this is where you need to be. But it was never their fault. It was me. I put that pressure on myself. Yeah. And as women, we do that a lot. We put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, to achieve the things that society says we need to be, this big, successful, wealthy, not just lawyer, but doctor or something like that. Those traditional career paths that we've been told, this is where you need to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's so amazing for a young person to say, no, this is not where I want to go. I mean, you still finished it, but you had the voice to talk to your parents, because most like in my time, I'm a little bit older than you, but in my time when you're unhappy with the path you're going along, you kind of suck it up and you finish your exams and you get your degree and you go into the job. And I really want to honor you for that, for speaking, having the confidence and the courage to speak to your parents. And thankfully, they were supportive of you. And you really kind of just followed your heart. And sometimes when we are thinking about the future, where we are thinking it might be is not that. And then you are presented something in another form that you're not thinking is going to be your focus. So you just go to kill time. Um, but then that becomes your true passion and the thing that really drives you to the point that now you are actually studying your degree in mass communications. And there are so many things. I mean, we are always learning. We are always learning and growing and progressing in life. But it is really an amazing story on this day that honors woman and the true potential of a woman who sits in her sadness, sits in her depression, allows herself to go through that, because we go through those things, but then uses that pain to ask herself, where do I want to be? And even with not really knowing exactly where, just following her heart and following her intuition and going after the things that she loves, and now seeing that the abundance that came out of those things. So I want to ask you, Shala, although I think I know the answer, I will still ask, are you grateful for those experiences? And if yes, why?
Absolutely. There was not a single time in my life where I was angry for what I had to go through. And I'm shocked by that, because my personality, I would just be upset about something and it wasted my time. But that really changed for me, because in that time over the past decade, I've learned to see a stumbling block as just an opportunity for you to fall into a new path or onto a new path. That's what it is. When you fall, you don't fall on your path. You fall onto a new path that you take, and which will most likely take you to a better place. And one thing that really took me through my gratitude period, or not being upset, was remembering everything happens for a reason. And that made me so grateful for every single thing that was happening for a reason that I would know later on.
Yeah, that is so true, and something that I live. Everything happens for a reason, and at the time, it's sometimes we are angry, but when you look back at it, without these experiences, we wouldn't be where we are today. So the other thing I want to ask you is, what is your message for persons who may be going through this? Is a similar thing that you went through. They may be going for the medical degree, or the lawyer, becoming a lawyer, or just whatever their parents were telling them. Because it's really, and sometimes it's not about blaming anyone and not your parents or anything, because they are just doing what they think is going to be best for you. They want you to be safe. They want you to be happy. They want you to have a good life. And that is what they know would give you those things. So it's not I never do anything to blame anyone. It's honoring that their intentions are pure. But what would you say for someone going through those things and trying to figure out if this is what they really want?
If it's related to school, 100%, I would say take a break. If it's something that you can do, take a break. Take a semester off, or take a year off, however long it's feasible to do so. Take a break, talk to your parents, and try to make them understand, because especially in an Indo-Caribbean family growing up, wow, it is hard to talk to your parents or your grandparents. But let that be the least of your worries. Think about yourself first and really dive deep within and find your happiness. Do you want to do this? And if that answer is yes, then push as hard as you can and get it done. If that answer is no, then there is time. And my message to you is that there is always time. We like to think time's running out. Oh my gosh, there's no time left. No, I have until the very last breath that I take to achieve every single thing that I want to do. And it does not matter how old you are, what your funds are like. It will work for you once you want it to happen. Put it out into the universe. Manifestation is so, so important. And I manifested every single thing that I achieved. And even the things that I didn't realize I manifested, from the purest heart, I was willing it. And it just came to me, and I go, how did the universe know that I wanted this? But that's my advice to you. There's always time. There is always time. You can achieve every single thing that you want to do. And always remember that everything happens for a reason. Nothing is a coincidence. Listen to your heart and how you're feeling. Don't let outside noise cloud your judgment. talk to yourself before you talk to anybody else, and ask yourself if this is what you want to do. And remember that the world is your playground. It sounds ideal, but there's so much that you can do. You don't have to just settle for one thing in your life. There's so much that's waiting for you to achieve. So talk to yourself, have a nice long conversation with yourself, and figure out what you want to do, and then will it into the universe, and it's going to happen.
Yes, I love that. The world is your playground. I could talk to you forever. I could talk to you forever. But thank you so much for coming on the series, Shala, especially on this day, International Women's Day. You truly epitomize the potential of a woman. And I too am honored to have you. And to my audience, today you will hear more than one story. So you are getting a treat today. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.